Yes, so back, we're going today with a Q&A, a bit of long form content, holding a commitment to a week, so you'll be sick of me soon. We had the education series. If you scroll down, you would have seen that went really well. My dog wants to say hi. She thinks I'm talking to someone, so let me let her say hi. The education series, which went extremely well, and off the back of that, I've been meaning to put out some long form content. I've been meaning to put out some long form content. So my commitment's twice a week. As I travel to shows and things, we're going to stay on top of it. So been busy as well, not had Wi-Fi in the new house, still no Wi-Fi. It's meant to follow me. But we're back into it. So what I'm starting with is nice and simple today, is a Q&A over some questions that I've gathered from client check-in. So one of the things is the biggest mistake that kills gains, and mine is one, taking the bulk too far, and sometimes that is by spending too long in a bulking phase where you tend to accumulate too much body fat. So when you then get into a diet phase, you have to extend it longer than you would like. I think that's a big mistake when it comes to killing gains, and it's obtaining too much too quickly. Yeah. So guys will come out a dietary phase, they'd come out a show, a shoot, a holiday prep, then they're going to a gaining phase, and before you know it, they're 20 kilos up in the matter of 8 weeks. And what we have to see is, if we are in a position where we get pushing weight up too quickly, we're going to ruin insulin sensitivity. We're going to obtain unnecessary body fat. We're going to have food so high and eat shit food groups that we're going to run into signs of lethargy. So what I always say to guys is structure, timeline, your growth phases, use clean whole food sources, use an approach that's going to limit body fat. Personally, with my clients, I like to keep a level of cardio in for one, appetite, post-workout, and two, just to keep body fat under wraps. And when you have a dirty bulking phase, what happens is, for example, you might gain a lot over, say, 12 weeks. And you get a bit too fat, but then you now have to spend 4 to 6 weeks pulling that back, and then you do it again for 12 weeks and 4 to 6 weeks pulling it back. Already in that phase, we spent 3 months in the dietary phase, whereas if we had a slow, linear, controlled bulk, a lot of my clients are going to gaining phases, then in the maintenance phase to recomp, and then in a bulking phase, and then a maintenance phase, and a small tidy. We're trying to limit how many times we have to tidy over 12 months in a gaining phase if we gain correctly. And not just, throwing loads of food and chase scale weight. Scale weight isn't always the answer. Progressing the logbook, slowly progressing scale weight, and having body composition in a good spot to keep insulin sensitivity good is also going to be one of the metrics that keep us in a good spot in a bulking phase. So that's just my opinion. Question number 2, do DOMs determine a good workout? Yes, but I smashed legs yesterday and I've got no DOMs today. So what does that say? They determine a good workout, but for me, it isn't the main driver for recruiting muscle tissue. Progressive overload is, and the logbook. And I always say the logbook is your best friend, and a lot of guys are against the logbook. But if I had a session yesterday and it was amazing and I ain't got DOMs today, I'm not going to throw the toys out my pram. I'm going to look at that logbook and say, have I progressed my lifts? All right, 5 out of 6 lifts I've progressed, so I'm moving in the right direction and chasing progression. I could probably do 100 star jumps, 100 burpees, 100 sit-ups, 100 press-ups, and I would have DOMs. Do you know what I mean? But is that acquiring muscle tissue to push me in the direction I want to go into? Probably not. So I always say DOMs play a purpose, but if you haven't got DOMs, have you progressed the logbook? If you haven't got DOMs and you haven't progressed the logbook, I feel sorry for you, yeah? Question number 3, how to break a strength plateau. I always, from personal experience, I say step away and reapproach the movement 4 to 6 weeks later. So that's typically, a lot of our clients will exhaust programs, and we only really change compounds in programs when we've exhausted that and hit that bottleneck. And that bottleneck might be, I've gone for the 70s for 6 reps, 3 weeks in a row, and I'm not progressing that. It's time to leave. It's time to walk away and change that movement for now. Say, for example, an incline Smith, change the movement pattern and then come back to that fresh. Or I say work in a phase of a lower load. So, I say reduce the load by 15%, work in the higher rep range, then hopefully taking a bit of time away and going back into that progressive overload fashion for 5 to 6 reps at the 70s, you should be able to progress. And what I'm going to do actually with a few YouTube shorts is document, I'm on a cut now, and my physique journey and getting a bit of strength back at the same time. I'm going to document how I do that as well, and what happens if I hit a lift. So a lot of content's coming as well. So I would change the movement pattern, because what I see guys do is they go in 70 for 5, 70 for 5, 70 for 5, 3, 4 weeks in a row, and it's like you're not getting anywhere. So let's step away and then revisit. And then I've got asked a very important one: mental, cognitive supplements and health subs. So mental cognitive supplements, I'm going to say new pet. It's a mental focus assimilation, if that's the word. Supplement, I take it if I've got big work blocks. I'll take it. It really locks me and allows me to focus. So that's a mental product which I think works well. That works well alongside p-horodine. And then in the mornings I tend to have my HydroFlow with 5 grams of glutamine. Very good for cognitive function, very good for recovery. It's something I've always used year on year. No fancy brands, just very simple. Bulk powders, use that product. The new pet and p-horodine I get from Biolab. And then I also stack that alongside Jase, which is again is a great, increases mood, increases increases mood, increases libido. You know, for males, has you feeling good. But my main ones, if I got a work block, will be new pet and p-horodine. So anyone who works in an office and they want to be focused after a morning session, I would be looking into that. Just as an all-rounder, everyone should be using a bit of glutamine with electrolytes in the morning. And Jase, if you're a male, it's just a great supplement. Who doesn't want higher libido? Especially as you get older, as a natural athlete, libido will start to dip. So Jase stacked with Tonka Ali is also a good base of supplements. Then my health supplements are all Conte. I like to use Conte Organ Defense, liver, kidney profiles, keep them in a good range. I'm huge on blood work. I get it sort of like every 8 weeks. And then I like to use an ashwagandha pre-bed to lower cortisol, put me in a relaxed state, to put me in a deep sleep. And then I also like to use my P5P because naturally I've got quite high prolactin. It helps me manage my prolactin. So that's my health subs and that's my mental cognitive subs, yeah? Then I got asked, 3 supplements if you couldn't have any others. Zinc, magnesium, ZMA, deep sleep. Sleep's gonna allow recovery. Good sleep's gonna put you in a good mood. At the minute, I've been going bed at 9. I get up at 5 every day, but I've been going bed at 9 and getting up at 5 and I've been fresh. So a good sleep, very simple standard ZMAs. Go on Amazon, cheap as chips. 50 billion probiotic, because to me, it's not about what you consume, it's about what you digest. So having a probiotic there, in my opinion, is good to clear bacteria, clear gut health, get you set up for the day. And I would honestly say, like some people say, oh, whey protein, you can get that from food, and I don't have any whey. I'm a whole foods guy. I would say carb drive. Essentially, when you're training, you have to look at your body as a fuel tank. And when we're training, we're depleting that full fuel tank, yeah? So prevent us finishing the session and finishing on empty, as we typically would, what we do is we're chipping away at that fuel tank, and then we implement a carb drive. So we're starting to fill up that fuel tank as we're training. So one, we're starting the replenishment of glycogen sooner rather than post-workout. And obviously carbohydrates are an energy source. So what happens with an energy source, we're topping up our energy tanks while we train, and it gives us a bit of energy in the back end of our training where we can, you know, get some more reps out of the session. So that would be my 3, ZMA, probiotic, and carb drive. And then, worst anabolic ever used. Obviously, I used to compete, I don't compete, I've restored naturally, and now I am on a prescripted TRT phase in the normal range, no super physiological ranges, and so I'm using my experience now to talk about anabolics. You'll see a lot of that on this page. So my worst anabolic I've ever used is halo testing for the toxicity, the rage, the effect on lipid profiles. It's so aggressive, it's in and out the system hard, dries my joints out. When I was competing and I was pushing to that level, I believe that was the reason, you know, a few of the times I had blood in my stool. So always very honest on this channel. Halo testing, very aggressive. Didn't run it at a high dose. When I was competing, chasing a pro card, I was running it for that hard, grainy, dry look. Is it something I recommend? No. Have I used it with clients? Yes, but at a very small dosage. I do see some ludicrous dosages online. Favorite anabolic I've ever used? Testosterone. Why? Simplified, minimal side effects, makes you feel good. You know, some people say, oh, trend's amazing. Horrible, 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 horrible. Great for the visual, but horrible on the mental and cognitive side. When I think of favorite anabolics, I don't think just the look or side effects. I always think mental. When was I at my clearest? When did I have the most clarity? So that's today's Q&A wrapped up. Check out the thumbnail as well. Got a new thumbnail guy. If you like that, please let me know. But we're going to be churning out a ton of content.